Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Space Oddities, your weekly meetup for everything about space. My name is Bernard, and I will be your host tonight. And we have a great panel tonight with us. We have Andy, Lou, Roger, and Mary, and Michael as well. Michael just had to drop out for a few minutes. Michael will come back. So, hello, panel.
Hey, Bernard.
Hello, how are you all doing?
Oh, we're fine.
Okay, that's great. That's great. I do want to apologize again to our viewers. We are trying a new platform to stream on YouTube, and it seems like once again, like last week, it seems like we were streaming two different types of YouTube feeds, and hopefully everyone is coming to the right one now, which we can see through the comments. So I just wanted to say again, welcome to all of you who are watching us on YouTube or watching us on Facebook. We are also going live on Ireland Astronomy and on of course our Space Oddities Facebook channel. So yeah, tonight we're going to have a great night. We're going to be talking about fireballs with Mary. Roger's going to present to us his usual "What's in the Night Sky." We're going to have some news from Michael and from Andy as well. And I will also do a presentation on the benefits of space exploration, our continued theme that we've been doing through the last few weeks, where I will be talking about the imagery of the Earth viewed from space and its impact on culture. So there we go. Don't forget to subscribe and to like us on YouTube. If you have any comments, any questions during the show, feel free to post them on the YouTube chat, and we will respond to you as quick as possible. Okay, gang. I think we're ready to go. So why don't we start with Roger? Roger, what do you have for us in the night sky?
Just before we start with Roger, if I may.
Oh, sorry, Andy. Yeah.
Unfortunately, there won't be a viewers gallery tonight because Rachel is rather unwell at the moment. So we send our best wishes to Rachel and get well soon. So the images that you did kindly send in for this week's gallery will hold over to next week. But get well soon, Rachel. We miss you, and hurry back soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Andy, for reminding us. And also, Andy's also going to be talking to you about a new competition we're going to launch with our sponsor, as usual. So we'll be discussing about this later on with you guys. Without further ado, Roger, it's up to you.
Okay. Well, hopefully this week we'll be able to do some presenting, and here we go. Right, so for the week of the 14th to the 20th of November, this week's Sky News. So this week we've got gone from the full moon, and we're now into the waning gibbous and the last quarter of the moon before we get nearer to the full moon. But later on in the week, on the 18th, which is Friday, we've got the start of the Leonids meteor shower. So that could be interesting. As it was a bit cloudy today, I've just posted what the current moon's phase was like last night while I was out imaging, as you do, in clear skies in Sparkford. So, okay. So we've got Saturn setting over towards the southwest at the moment. Jupiter's still looking fabulous, and Mars is now taking the dominant position in the sky, ready for next month's opposition. And things are looking quite nicely, coming up with Orion appearing in the earlier skies, which I've got for 10 o'clock through on this display. So winter is gradually coming with a pace now, so things are starting to look more exciting for us astrophotographers and imagers. So good luck with that. And as you can see, Jupiter now setting over towards us, and Mars climbing higher and higher into the sky with Orion and its constellations all around for winter appearing. And also we've got in the southern hemisphere, we've also got the same planets visible, with Jupiter even higher up in the night sky, and Orion also appearing quite nicely, but they've also got a very low Andromeda galaxy, which is not what we have over in the Northern Hemisphere, where it's very nicely placed in the night sky. So as we get to see that through, all well and good. Right. So here we have a new image from the James Webb of a partial portion of the dwarf galaxy Wolf-Lund-Millet. And we've got this viewpoint, and we've also got a side-by-side comparison from the Spitzer, just to show you which the resolution has become to show off what we can now achieve with our wonderful JWST.
Roger, what was the exposure time for the Webb image?
I've got no indication on the exposure time, but obviously because of the comparison when we got the original images, I'm sure this is just a fraction of the time that the Spitzer had tried to take up the same area. But they almost look very pixelated to the very fine resolution that the near infrared cam can pick up from the JWST.
The difference in resolution with Spitzer, I mean, we used to think Spitzer was brilliant. But I mean, the Webb has 14 times the resolution of Spitzer. And don't you see it? It's absolutely amazing difference.
It's barely begun yet as well.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and I was going to say, let's remind our viewers, Spitzer, the diameter of the mirror, was it like 60 centimeters, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's insignificant compared to what Webb is.
But Spitzer, you know, despite having a small aperture and rather old technology now, I mean, it has made some amazing discoveries in its time. So.
Oh, absolutely. One of the first big telescopes that was sent out to study infrared. So
absolutely.
That's the only image that I've managed to achieve to download. So that's all I've got from the James Webb for this week.
Right. Bernard, do you remember IRAS?
No, I don't. What was IRAS again?
IRAS was the infrared astronomical satellite in the early 80s. And it was really the first infrared astronomical satellite. Apart from obviously, you know, getting the first clear view of the infrared from above the Earth's atmosphere, it also jointly discovered a comet, which is Comet Iras-Alcock-Araki, which was visible in the night skies in 1983. And I remember looking that through my telescope, and it was a brilliant comet. It was an amorphous blob rather than one with a nice tail. Very interesting. And I remember Patrick Moore talking about it on the Sky at Night, and he said, "Oh, if you look straight up, it's near the zenith at the moment." And I sort of didn't climb out, but I put my head out of my bedroom window immediately, looked straight up, and there it was. It was quite stunning. So IRAS did make a lot of infrared discoveries, but I particularly remember the comet Iras-Alcock-Araki in '83. There we are. Just thought I'd throw that in.
Speaking of comets, though, going back to Roger, you mentioned the Leonids meteor shower, and this is Comet Tempel-Tuttle, right? And it has a 33-year period as a short period comet. So every 33 years, we have a chance for a real meteor storm. And I was just kind of looking it up, and I guess the last one was 1999. So we have about 10 years to go before Tempel-Tuttle has a chance of producing a meteor storm next time.
And Lou, when you say like a meteor storm, what's the scale? Is it going to be as spectacular as the Perseids, maybe?
Well, if you go back in history to 1833 and then and on, you'll see artwork that depicts the basically it looks like the sky is completely filled with meteors. And so it depends on a lot of things, including the time that you look and the place you are on Earth and whether there's a full moon and so on. But, what do we call zenith hourly rates, right? Can be well in excess of 100 and perhaps in excess of 1,000.
Yeah, the visual rate that you see is never the same as a zenith hourly rate, but a really good year for the Perseids would be seeing 30 an hour visually, but a meteor storm could be 10 times that.
Yeah.
And it's funny you should mention that, Lou, because that famous drawing from 1833, I was looking at just this afternoon in connection with something I was reading. And I don't know how much of an exaggeration it was, but you couldn't put a finger between the meteors in that drawing. There were so many of them. So
I think it's of an exaggeration, because there's a lot of other artwork, paintings and woodcuts and so on that show about the same thing. Essentially, the sky appears to be on fire.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
10 years is all we have to wait.
Not all. Nothing at all.
I think that would be an interesting topic for the show one evening, talking about the artistic representations of all these meteor showers and celestial events through time. I think we'd have
There's a lovely painting that I've always adored of a comet over Paris in 1890 something, I think. And it's such a beautiful painting, and I've often wondered how accurate it was, whether there was any artistic license. Because if it's accurate, that was of course, in those days there was no or little artificial lighting to interfere with your view of the comet over Paris.
Yeah,
it's I'll see if I can dig it out, because it's a beautiful painting.
Challenge for tonight, Andy. Get it out for us.
I will. Well, may not be able to do it tonight because I've got it in a book somewhere. I'll have to find the book first.
There are stories of people in the field while this happened, kind of throwing down their implements and falling down on the ground and praying to God not to end the earth. So I think these pictures are probably pretty realistic.
Yeah, absolutely.
There were some great comets back then.
Yeah, there were. And I don't know whether I told you, Lou, but back in 1986, I was secretary of an astronomy society, and we organised some flights out of the local airport in Southend to see Halley's Comet. And we chose an old Vickers Viscount, which is a prop-driven aircraft, because it has huge windows. And the Viscount dates back to the 50s. But it's got these big windows, not like the tiny little portholes that you have in aircraft these days. And unfortunately, we ran 20 flights, and only one of them got to see the comet, because the problem with the Viscount was it couldn't go much above 20,000 feet, and there was a lot of cloud that week, so it never got above the clouds. But we had a letter from a lady asking if she could bring her poodle on the flight with her. And we said, unfortunately, that's not allowed. Why do you want to bring your dog? And she said, well, it's in case we collide with the comet. I want him to be with me when I go. So yeah, lovely. So we had to explain to her, it would be the best part of 100 million miles away. So there was absolutely no chance that was going to happen. And she did come on the flight in the end, minus her dog, but didn't get to see the comet, unfortunately.
Well, thank you so much, Andy, for that personal story. Great. Thanks, Roger. That was very interesting.
Thank you again, Roger.
Okay.
Yeah.
At least we got it
finished. So had you actually finished your presentation before we hijacked it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, just wanted to check.
Bit of a low week for info, really.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll make up for it next week.
I'm sure I will.
Yeah.
All right. Now it's my turn. I'm going to be presenting on the topic that we've been talking about through the last few weeks, which is the benefits of space exploration. And I wanted to explore the impact that images have on society, and especially two very important images that took place during space exploration. And if you know your space exploration well, you should roughly know what I'm going to be talking about. So, as you all know, we've been, the start of the space race, started at the end of the 50s, and in the early 60s, we really started to launch more and more satellites into space, and then, of course, we had the first image ever taken from space over the boundary, the Kármán line of 100 kilometers in altitude, and this was the first ever image taken, and it was taken, with a rudimentary camera on top of a rocket. And the interesting thing, of course, is that you can already see, the potential for space images. You could sort of already see the weather patterns there with the clouds, and a little bit, of course, of surface features. And so people were really interested in this. And of course, the more they started to launch things in space, the more you started to capture images. However, we were not really going that far in the first era of the space race. Only when we started to decide to go to the moon that we started to have images like this, which is Earthrise. Earthrise was taken by the Lunar Orbiter 1, which was one of the American robotic probes that were sent to the moon to sort of image the moon and the moon's surface in order to be able to prepare themselves for the Apollo landings. And this picture was taken, and it really is the first Earthrise, and it's the first time we see the Earth from afar. As sort of this round object, this small round object in comparison to the frame of the image, and of course in the foreground with the moon, it brings things in perspective a lot. And when this was taken in 1966, it was already published through the newspapers, and it was already a big event at the time. However, it didn't have the same impact as another Earthrise picture would have later on. And that's because this other Earthrise picture is very interesting. Its story comes from, of course, the Apollo missions that we have here at Saturn V that took Apollo 8 into space. And I still think that Apollo 8 is the most amazing Apollo mission ever. Of course, the moon landing is out of this world, pun intended. But the Apollo 8 was just a remarkable mission because they put the guys, Bill, Frank, and James into a capsule, and these were the first men ever to go to the moon, at least orbit the moon, and go in the back of the moon, and therefore be cut from the entire human race, from the whole of humanity, and so what they did, and this was in preparation, of course, with the moon landing, was just a dry run, and let's just see if the capsule can go around, orbit the moon, and whatnot. And here's an interesting thing, is that as they started to orbit the moon, they had no plans to take images of Earth from the moon itself. All their schedule was to try and see whether the capsule was running well, maybe take pictures of the moon itself. And then something really occurred, and I'm going to do a plug here because on my last book, Imaging Our Solar System, I actually talk about this image, and I just wanted to read it out to you guys because I think it's really going to be it's going to put a lot of context into this image. And so this image, I'm going to show it to you now. It's of course Earthrise from 1968 from the Apollo 8 mission. And I just wanted to read this out to you guys. So we have Frank, Jim, and Bill. So these are the three astronomers in the capsule. And here we go. So Frank, the commander, was following the flight plan and working on placing the command and service module into a new orientation, while Jim, the navigator, was tracking the lunar surface from below with a sextant. Bill, sitting on the right side, was looking at the moon through his windows, taking snapshots with a Hasselblad camera fitted with a 250mm telephoto lens. As Frank was readying the crew to initiate the roll, Bill, looking out of his window, exclaimed, "Oh my gosh, look at that picture over there." there's the moon. No, sorry, there's the Earth coming up. Wow, it's that pretty. And then Frank, the commander, replied jokingly, "Hey, don't take that. It's not scheduled." Upon which shutter clicks were heard. Bill urged Jim, who was now also looking out the window, to quickly pass him a roll of color film. These were Ektachrome films developed by Kodak. Jim initially was transfixed by the sight. On the voice recordings, you can hear him say, "Oh man, that's great," which was quickly followed by, "Quick, quick, hurry," from the impatient crewmate. And so Bill, holding the only Hasselblad freely available in the capsule, wanted to take shots of the scene before it was too late and placed the color film in the camera. And then Jim, next to him, because he could not take pictures, was actually recommending various settings. 250 at f11, vary the exposure a little bit, take several of them. And, these were heard through the audio feed in the capsule. And then, of course, these three astronauts, after seeing that, they were overwhelmed by the scene of Earth and taking these, unscheduled pictures. They had to wait until they returned back to Earth for the film to be processed and for this image to be shown to the world. And oh my gosh, did this picture have an impact? It really resonated with the public. People finally realized that we are living on this blue world that's insignificant in relation to the whole of space, but more importantly that that we should start to care for it. And you start to get more and more of images like this from the Apollo mission. And it's no surprise that, and many historians now view that, it's these type of pictures that have really, influenced, of course, with other types of things, but influenced, the environmental movement that started in America. And it's no coincidence that the first Earth Day started to celebrate in the 1970s, right in the middle of Apollo, when they were sending these images. And I think this is just remarkable. Just for this, I think the moon landing program should have been funded, just in order for us to be able to look back at the Earth. There was another Apollo mission, the last one in 1972. Apollo 17, and they took this other image, which is very influential as well, and it's called the Blue Marble, and it's the first time the Earth was taken as a full sphere and in color. And Eugene Cernan, of course, which was the geologist on the Apollo 17 mission, he said this most remarkable thing. He said, "We went to explore the moon, and in fact, we discovered Earth." And this is what I think we should really celebrate from these Apollo missions. It's not only the moon, but the fact that we were actually able to view the Earth in such a way that resonated with many people. And these two images, the Earthrise of 68 and Blue Marble, have been copied so many times. You see them in so many places, in posters and in films and such. These are so remarkable remarkable images. And so, of course, as time went by, we start to send more and more images in space. And now these days, with you can pretty much have a live feed of Earth from the ISS on YouTube. It's just amazing the extent of which now we can image the Earth from all these satellites and such. But I wanted us to go back to these early images of Earth and how impactful they were for us. So just for this, I think one of the benefits of space exploration has definitely been for us to rediscover Earth and to the environmental movement fueled with amazing and jaw-inspiring imagery. So there you go. Of course, other panelists, I think. Karim wants to discuss a bit more about the view of Earth through satellites and such. But so I'll leave that to him for the next series. But there you go. That was my presentation. I hope you liked it.
Thank you for that. That was great. Somebody wrote that we went to find the moon and ended up finding ourselves. About the famous Earthrise photo, because it did make an unbelievable impact. Especially, as you said, with the growth of the environmental movement. It was such an iconic image. And Carl Sagan's famous speech about the pale blue dot, that everyone that you've ever heard of or has lived is on that. Everything we've ever known or ever will know is on that dot.
But I find that I have the pale blue dot on poster in my bedroom and Carl Sagan's whole text. Yeah. But I find that less people are familiar with that than they are with these images, with the blue marble and the Earthrise. I'll show that to my wife. She was like, yeah, I showed the blue dot to my wife. And she's like, yeah, maybe. Yes, they just resonate in a way that I don't think other pictures might.
No.
Bernard, I don't know if you discovered this in your research, but the NASA Goddard Scientific Visualization Studio did an amazing job of recreating the imagery for that Apollo 8 Earthrise image, and they have a full video of it. They used the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter (LRO) imaging, and got the spacecraft position, velocity, and orientation, and overlaid on that the audio of the 3 astronauts talking, and it's all timed correctly, and it's just beautiful. So NASA Goddard Scientific Visualization Studio, you should check it out.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
I love seeing the Earth as a crescent as well, because I think people forget that we have phases the same that the moon does. And if we are standing on the moon, whatever the moon phase is, Earth is the opposite of it. So if you see a crescent moon, Earth is gibbous. And if you see half, they're both half. And a full moon, we've got a fully shadowed Earth. So I think that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Totally. If you want to know a bit more about imaging in our solar system, I'm going to be shamelessly plugging my last book called Imaging Our Solar System, which is available in all good libraries. And that's where I got the transcript from. I just read to you now. So there we go.
It's a great book. It's a wonderful read. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Andy.
Give me the fiver later. So no, it is. It's a great book. You did a great job with that book. So well done.
All right. Fantastic. Cool. So there we go. We will carry on, folks, to discuss about the benefits of space exploration in the next session with Karim, I believe. In the meantime, I think it's time for Mary. Mary has some fireballs to talk about.
Yeah. Andy, can you start my presentation, or do I do it here? Oh, fab. Thank you. So it's just a little bit of a story, really. On the 23rd of October at 1934 UT, there was a really bright fireball. It was a MAG minus 6.4 fireball. This is the view from one of our Meteor cameras. It was picked up on a lot of UK Meteor Network cameras. And as always, the orbit trajectory gets solved. And we know that this is an asteroid fragment, probably from the main belt. But the interesting thing about it is, this is just a video of it, which has been, hopefully that's playing. It's not for me, but it's basically just shows the video there where it's been kind of shrunk down a little bit to help the software do the analysis better. Because when you do the orbit calculations, you need the accurate track of the meteorite. If there's going to be a meteorite that succeeds and makes it down to ground, you need to be able to accurately plot its path so that you can then extrapolate, because a meteoroid will keep moving after it's burned up and go through its dark flight phase. So it's invisible. So no matter how many cameras have recorded it, you don't know exactly where it will be. So the software does all of this clever stuff, and they calculated that this has probably dropped meteorites somewhere near Cirencester. And the track that this meteor followed is kind of going from the south up towards the north. Now, if any of you have kind of followed what the UK Meteor Network do, you'll remember that about 18 months ago, we had another fireball that dropped meteorites, and its path pretty much makes it drop meteorites within 10 kilometers of the previous one. So that's just extraordinary. It's surprising how many meteors actually do go on to drop meteorites. There have been 5 that we know of so far in 2022. Probably most of them have ended up in the sea. There's been a couple of searches done for the others, but no luck. But they have been doing searches around the Stroonfield area, just north of Cirencester. Nothing's been found as yet. But yeah, it's just extraordinary that they're obviously moving in 2 separate directions. The 2 events are completely not linked at all. It's just really amazing that they've dropped their meteorites in more or less the same place, which is incredible. And obviously, a lot of people have asked us, well, what are the chances of that? And it turns out there are over 17,000 meteors that actually make it to Earth as a meteorite per year across the whole globe. So when you kind of divide that over land area and stuff like that, it works out about a 1 in 30 chance that a meteorite will land in the same place, which is nowhere near as crazy as I thought it would be. But yeah, not been found yet. So there's a full press release that you can read from the UK Fireball Alliance. So if you live in that area, obviously, please don't go and trespass on land. You need permission to go meteorite hunting. But there you go, just a bit of interesting news. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
It is quite amazing. I mean, they say lightning never strikes twice in the same place, but meteors certainly do by the look of it.
They seem to.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that was lovely.
That's actually close to where I live. I might go and trespass a bit.
Well, and obviously the likelihood of something surviving depends on exactly what kind of asteroid fragment it is. So with Winchcombe meteorite, it was a carbonaceous chondrite, which is so friable and so delicate that the minute any moisture gets onto it, it's changed beyond all recognition. So you won't find it. But unfortunately, pieces of dark asteroid fragment look remarkably like sheep, and there's a lot of grazing cattle in that area. So it's a bit of a tedious search when it lands on farmland. But yeah, it is just extraordinary. And the reason we're picking up so many is just on account of how many cameras we have in the UK now. When the Winchcombe event happened, we had about 15 cameras. We now have 180. So there are very few interesting events that we don't have coverage of.
Yeah, indeed.
Cool. Thank you very much, Mary. That's very interesting. Wasn't there this story of this, and maybe I'm mixing things up, where you had this guy, I think it was in America or in England, that was collecting the dirt or the rain off his roof and filtering it, and through the years and years of doing so, he managed to collect a few grams of meteorites. Have you heard about this story?
Yeah, definitely. Everybody can do this with their gutters. Usually there are loads of kind of outreach projects that teach people how to do this, but you just basically scoop up all of the silt out of your gutters and you put it in a bag and use a magnet to separate it out. Now, unfortunately, the UK has a huge industrial history, so there is an awful lot of foundry slag that makes its way up in the air and all of that stuff. But usually these really tiny micrometeorites tend to get quite hot as they fall through, so they melt and become little spherules. So if you look at it under a microscope, once you've got your magnetic silt and then have a look, anything that is a perfectly round sphere is possibly micrometeorites. I mean, it's really difficult to know for sure whether it is or isn't, but with such a colourful industrial history here, that's very unlikely that anything you just fly lying around that looks a bit like a meteorite because it's silver and bobbly usually just isn't. So it's a meteor wrong, as we call it.
Has anyone here ever tried to do that? Inspect their
Yes,
gutters?
I have.
Yeah?
Yeah, of course we have. Yeah, we've done it, and we've.
Anybody can do it. It would be Mary.
Yeah, not that we're hoarders, but we don't even throw away gutter silt anymore. But no, it's quite good fun. I've got a little. I haven't looked at it under the microscope, so the first time we did it, we naively thought anything magnetic would be meteorite, and so what we've got in this little thing may not be. It might be. I need to just put it under the microscope and have a look. But it's super easy to do. You just need a strong magnet and some dirt and some water and just put it in a bag so that you mix it all up and just drag all the magnetic bits out and then sort through it. It's good fun.
And if anybody has seen Werner Herzog's amazing film Fireball, part of that he looks at two guys who do exactly this, and they illuminate the samples with an incredibly bright light that is so bright they have to leave the room, otherwise their eyes will be damaged. And these things are so beautiful, and one guy's just completely obsessed with them because every single one is different, and every single one is has different colors and different features in it. And these are microscopic things, So he does the collecting, and he's got a friend who's an expert on telling, as Mary said, industrial stuff from the real thing. And it's stunning, and that whole film is wonderful. If you haven't seen it, watch Fireball. It's a film by Werner Herzog, and he looks at it's mostly about the cultural impact of meteorites and fireballs through the ages, and how different cultures have related to them. It's an absolutely fascinating film, so highly recommended if you get a chance to see Fireball, the Werner Herzog film. Well worth seeing.
My neighbour's security light sounds like it's a similar brightness to that light, so I'll have to give it a try.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Do you know, at some point, I've probably said before, back in the midst of time, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the government held a common select committee on light pollution in the House of Lords, and I attended, as you can as a member of the public. And one thing that came out of that was that B&Q was selling a home security light that's brighter than a lighthouse.
It's ludicrous.
And to be fair, there was a campaign, and B&Q did stop selling it in the end. But yeah, they were selling a home security light brighter than a lighthouse. And of course, as we all know, all that's doing for potential burglars is showing them where your doors, windows, and locks are. That the whole thing is quite ridiculous. Because when if you got a neighbour with a home security light and it goes off, do you actually go out and think, oh God, that might be a burglar next door? You just think, oh no, there's a damn security light going off again. It's like car alarms, isn't it? Do you ever go out when a car alarm goes off to see what's happening? You just get irritated and try and ignore it till it goes off again. So there we are.
Until you go out and you don't see your car anymore.
Yeah, well, yeah, but as I don't have a car, then I'm not worried.
Right.
Well, there have been some interesting studies on the effects of light pollution. For example, in parts of the city where kids like to pick up rocks and throw them at windows, they found that if they don't illuminate the building, the kids don't throw the rocks anymore because they can't see the effect.
Exactly.
So all these kind of counterintuitive problems with light pollution, and many others, of course.
Well, I've always said that obviously women can be quite anxious about being out in the dark, but I've always thought if you're in the dark, no potential attacker can see you, so you might actually be a bit safer. That's the idea anyway. But
the impact on biodiversity of modern lighting and human health as well is quite well documented now. We need to get Steve to come on and talk about this because he's a Dark Skies officer for Cranbourne Chase, and he does a talk all about this issue. So we should.
Well, Mary, you're quite welcome to invite him on one week if you'd like to. So yes, get him on. We'd love to hear him.
Oh, I definitely like so as well. Yeah, by the way, Daz on the comments said that you can send your findings, the meteorites you find in your gutter, to Cardiff University for identification. So I didn't.
There you are. A lot of good stuff goes on at Cardiff.
Yeah.
And just also, although you do use a magnet if you're looking for micrometeorites in your gutter, if you think you've found a potential meteorite on the ground, never ever put a magnet on it, because it can change the properties of it and can affect the analysis of it at a later date. So all it means is you've got a magnetic rock. It doesn't tell you that it's meteoric. So all it's going to do is ruin any future analysis if it is one. So don't ever touch it with a magnet.
And another comment says, remember that farmers have guns as well.
Yes. And whoever owns the land owns the meteorite if there is one found there as well. So if you do go trespassing, you're not just trespassing, you're then stealing as well. So
right, yeah.
Don't try this at home, boys and girls.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much, Mary. That was very interesting. Very interesting to know. I think it's up to Michael now. Michael's gonna present us some of the latest news.
Yes, I shall get my screen ready. So can you see that?
1 second. Let's just make that visible for you. There you go.
I'll go back. Let me go back. Yes. Okay, you can still see that, yeah?
Yep.
Great. Right. Welcome, everybody, to my latest items. Welcome to What's Up in Space. This is a news item from a couple of weeks now, as I didn't get time to show them last week. So we're going to start off with the Chinese Long March 5B rocket that carried the Menjian module for China's Tiangong space station on October. I'm afraid that's one of the best you can get, really. The Menjian Lab module successfully docked with China's space station and making the T shape of the eventual space station design. And then the 3 astronauts or taikonauts that were on board the station already actually went into the Menjian Lab. You can see how big the interior seems to be there. And to me, it seems a lot tidier than the modules on the ISS. So it's quite interesting. So
they look pretty happy. It must have gone well.
So the lab module had a takeoff mass of about 23 tons, and it consists of a work cabin, a cargo airlock cabin, a payload cabin, and a resource cabin. And it's the heaviest single active cabin spacecraft in orbit in the world right now. Next, we have had the Falcon Heavy launch last week of the USSF 44 classified satellite, the United States Space Force. This was a picture of the pad on the launch day, completely in fog. Probably a good thing for a classified satellite mission, I suppose. But as soon as the rocket was launched successfully, we had a great view of the rocket going into space. And you can see the 3 boosters there of the Falcon Heavy. Then on the 1st of November, then on the 3rd of November, we had another Falcon, this time a Falcon 9, launched the Eutelsat Hotbird 13G mission into geostationary transfer orbit. Okay, from the Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. A few days later, we had a Northrop Grumman seamless cargo launch to the ISS. This was the the Cygnus cargo vehicle named SS Sally Ride after the astronauts. Launched on at 5:32 a.m. EST on November 7th from Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport. SS Sally Ride was captured by the ISS robotic arm by NASA's Nicole Mann, and then subsequently docked with the station on 9th of November. The rocket was supposed to be launched the day before, but an unexpected fire alarm went off at Northrop Grumman's control center in Virginia, which prevented launch of the Antares rocket on the Sunday. So that's an unusual launch prevention that we don't hear of very often. Okay, so next we have another SpaceX Falcon 9 launch. This time on the 12th of November at 11:06 Eastern Time, launching the G31 and G32 satellites for Intelsat. This was a launch to geostationary orbit transfer, and apparently what happened on this mission, the booster was not recovered, and the landing legs weren't attached to the Falcon 9 booster. And the reason for that was because the Galaxy 31 and 32 were heavier than the 33 and 34 satellites. They required the booster to be burned for longer, and so the booster was expended. And apparently the customer, Intelsat, pays an extra premium for that facility. Probably an extra $25 million. Okay, another one a few days ago, and this time an Atlas V launch from the West Coast Vandenberg Space Force Base. This carried the JPSS, the Joint Polar Satellite System, and the lofted the low Earth orbit flight test on an inflatable decelerator. This is a new system which the ULA hope to use on the new Vulcan Centaur rocket, which is to replace the Atlas system, which could be used to return key components of the Vulcan Centaur in the future. Okay, just an update on SLS Orion. The latest launch time is going to be 6:04 a.m. GMT this Wednesday, the November the 16th. This has a 2-hour launch window for the first flight of the SLS and Orion on Artemis 1. So that's 6:04 a.m. on GMT on Wednesday.
Definitely. If you go back, yeah. I'm a show of hands here, or maybe who's going to be able to watch that? I'm definitely going to try and wake up early to watch that.
Well, we have an idea to cover it here on Space Oddities Live on Wednesday. Yep. So viewers, if you'd like to join us to watch potentially the launch of the SLS on Wednesday, as Michael said, the launch window opens at 6:04 a.m. UK time. And we'll certainly be here for that. Whether we will actually wait for the whole 2 hours, we don't know. We'll have to play it by ear, but we certainly intend to bring you some coverage of this first Artemis flight, NASA's return to the moon after 50 years on Wednesday, and hoping all goes well. So join us on Space Oddities at, I think we're planning to go live at around 6 o'clock on Wednesday. Here on this channel, so we hope you can join us.
And for our viewers in the United States, since it's it'll be 1:04 a.m. Eastern time, because it's a night launch on the SLS rocket, this powerful rocket. You should be able to see the launch quite a ways up the eastern seaboard. So I don't remember what the are, but if you have a chance and want to look out your window south, just a little after the 1:04 launch time, or whenever they end up launching, you may actually see it in real life.
Sure.
Okay, so just a bit of news on missions being worked on in the background at the moment. This is Psyche. And it was supposed to be launched in 2022, and it's a mission to study a metallic asteroid of the same name. Unfortunately, the mission has suffered lots of delays in its preparation and has actually missed its 2022 launch date. Well, there was a review convened by NASA, and it's found a significant factor in the delay was an imbalance between the workload and the available workforce at JPL. And NASA has worked closely with JPL management to cover the months to address the challenges in the report. So what they've decided to do, which is unfortunate in some respects, NASA is now delaying the launch of the Venus Emissivity Radio Science Insight Topography and Spectroscopy mission. I can't say spectroscopy either, which is the picture in the lower left-hand corner, for at least 3 years. This would allow experienced staff at JPL to complete the developments of the Psyche mission, which we'll look out for in the next 2 or 3 years for launch. Excuse me. Okay. More news on the Falcon Heavy. The Falcon Heavy that was launched last week was the first one in I think it was over 3 years. But it looks like we have 2 Falcon Heavy launches coming up in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
There will be the Viasat-3 internet satellite to launch to geostationary transfer orbit in December, and another US Space Force classified mission to launch in January or February 2023. Excuse me, so look out for that. Closer to home, Spaceport Cornwall has received Launcher 1, and Cosmic Girl, the 747, has actually landed, and they're preparing the launcher with the payloads. And but unfortunately, we are still awaiting clearance from the Civil Aviation Authority for launch. So let's hope they get that sorted out soon. Excuse me. Just a bit of news, slightly different news this time from Collect Space. The History Channel, a team of divers have found a significant piece of the Space Shuttle Challenger on the floor of the Atlantic Ocean. You can see all the tiles there on that piece of shuttle.
Wow.
Yeah. I understand the artifact as it is now will remain on the seafloor. So and that information came from Collect Space.
Which, sorry, maybe you said I missed it. Which location was that?
It was just off the coast of Florida.
Right.
And it will be featured in a History Channel TV program, which is all about the Bermuda Triangle. But obviously, this is not in the Bermuda Triangle, so this is just as an aside piece for that particular program. Okay,
Michael, there's before you go on Capstone, there's a question from Anne on YouTube. It says, "Is the Chinese space station ever visible over our skies?"
I don't think it is over the UK. No, I think it's in more of an equatorial orbit than visible from the UK. Well, I'll have to check that.
Tiangong is visible if you go on Heavens Above.
Right.
It's not very high though. It's quite low altitude, but Heavens Above has pastimes for it. I only knew because I tried to find it once before, but it was cloudy.
Okay. But probably not as often as the ISS.
No, nor as bright.
No. Okay. Now, I understand that the Capstone mission, that Capstone actually arrived at the moon overnight, over Sunday, Monday, yesterday and today. And 2 smaller correction maneuvers will take place this week to ensure the spacecraft is confirmed into the complex lunar orbit, or the NRHO, or the near rectilinear halo orbit, which is the planned orbit for the US Gateway space station as part of the Artemis program. This is just to test the orbit and test communications and so forth for that particular mission.
preparation for the Lunar Gateway space station, I believe.
Yes, that's right. That's the same orbit that they want for the gateway. Yeah. Okay. Back to China now. They also launched another Long March 5 rocket, this time with a cargo spacecraft for the space station. This was a few days ago. And this cargo launch was, I thought was quite amazing, was the fact that it actually rendezvoused and docked with the space station only 2 hours after it was launched from the Wenchang space launch site in China. So it's the fastest launch and space station docking ever in the world. So congratulations to China on that one.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
China.
It's also the largest in volume cargo spacecraft to go into orbit as well, including all the with all the American ones as well. Okay, so and finally, staying with China, they are developing a new generation of the crewed launch vehicle in China. is underway, and after successful deployment of the new rockets, China will have the ability to land people on the moon by 2030. So watch this space on that one. So that's all I have.
That's the famous police rocket.
Yes, yes.
Excellent.
All they need is a thin blue line.
Yeah, thin yellow line.
Yeah, and Daz mentions that we all need hard hats because of the Chinese launches, because from time to time they just fall back.
Well, the Chinese are doing their space program really, really aggressively, and it's it's obvious that they want to be completely dominant in low Earth orbit. So we can expect a lot more from the Chinese, and they've got the resources to do it. So
one thing I'd like to say as well. If anybody asks how many people there are on orbit at the moment, a lot of people would say 7, because that's how many people are on the ISS. But also, there's 3 people on the Chinese space station, so there's 10.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Can't forget the Chinese.
No, at your peril.
Sandra Bullock is happy about that.
Thanks very much.
Sorry, Lou, what did you mention?
I'm sure Sandra Bullock is happy about that.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Michael. There was a lot of news to catch up on, and that was really cool. Thanks for that. We're going to move on to Andy. Andy wants to clarify some things about the next competition.
Yes, indeed. But before we do that, just before we went on air, actually, SpaceX did a static fire test on their Falcon Super Heavy booster. Now, in case you're not au fait with what this is all about, SpaceX are hopefully shortly going to be launching their Starship into orbit for the very first time, the first orbital flight, which will be uncrewed, of course. And they've been slowly working towards this for a very long time. And part of the testing is to fire the engines of the booster, this enormous booster, the likes of which the world has never seen, successfully anyway, while on the ground. It's called a static fire test, and basically the rocket doesn't take off, but they fire the engines. So SpaceX have been working towards this by firing a few engines at a time and progressively firing more engines at a time. We don't know how many engines were fired in today's static fire test, but it looks a lot. And I'm just going to show you exactly what it looked like. So here we are. Let me just maximize this. And this was today's static fire. It took place just before 8 o'clock this evening.
I'm just going to say it's amazing that the whole tower just doesn't take off.
Yeah,
it looks like it's trying to.
Yeah, that.
Gosh, the vibrations on the camera.
Very strong hold down belts.
Yeah, the booster, the Super Heavy, has 33 engines, which makes it the most powerful rocket ever built. And as I said, we don't know how many they fired this time, but it was certainly a good percentage of them. So I just thought I'd show you that, because what this represents is a step towards humans' crewed exploration, manned exploration of the solar system. This is just the first step towards Mars and the outer planets beyond. And it's small steps, small steps, small steps. The scheduled first orbital attempt is due to happen sometime in December, if all goes well. They've still got a bit to do, not least of which is that they still have to get regulatory approval from the American equivalent of the CAA, the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration. And as soon as they get that, they could well be on their way to putting that enormous spacecraft into orbit for the first time.
Can they also send Elon Musk into orbit? But that's for another discussion altogether.
I'm sure he would love to go. Also, so anyway, viewers, I'd like to ask you a question. We were talking about producing a calendar, a 2023 calendar, from some of the images that you've been kind enough to send into the gallery this year. And again, apologies for the fact that there's no viewers gallery tonight because Rachel unfortunately is rather poorly, so we send our best wishes to Rachel. So we'll hold your images over to next week. Don't worry, we will feature them. But we thought we might like to produce a 2023 gallery from the some of the images, selected images that you've sent in to us. So what I'd like you to do in the chat, can you just say a quick yes or no if you would like to buy a calendar for 2023 featuring some images from our viewers gallery. So just write yes or no in the chat, and we just want to get an idea of whether there's any real support for us producing a calendar for this year. So if you could be very kind to put yes or no in the chat, whether you'd be interested in having a calendar. There we are. That says 14 engines were tested on the static fire. There we are. Anne says yes, please. If you're not interested, just say no if you'd be so good. But there we are. Yes. Some Astronebulae says yes, I would. John Walton says yes. Anybody else be interested in a 2023 Space Oddities calendar? Yes. Okay.
Looks like it's quite popular.
Looks like it's a popular idea. So lots of yeses there. Anybody else want to say yes or no? Okay.
Was it not, Andy? Was it not? Maybe we'd get more popular if it was a calendar of us posing, like Pirelli style. No.
I think 3 words come to mind there, Bernard.
That went down like a lead balloon.
Faster than the Graf Zeppelin. Well, there does seem to be support here tonight from our viewers, so that's nice. Obviously, we will try and make it as inexpensive as possible for you. We're just costing some ideas at the moment and looking at various options. So yes, thank you very much, viewers, for your responses. It looks very much like we have a winner there as far as the viewers go. So we will get back to you on that. Now, as regards this month's competition, I'm going to give you the details of that next week, because that rather is linked to what we do about the calendar, which we'll explain next week. So details of November's competition next week, and we're hoping to give you a lovely prize for November. So keep watching next week to find out what the competition is going to be and what the prize is for November. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you so much, Andy. And yeah, it's actually quite funny to read the comments on the YouTube post. Great.
Just see some of those again. So,
yeah.
it's only new comments that get displayed now, of course.
Oh, right. Okay. That's fine. Cool. Thank you so much for that, Andy. And again, we're so pleased with our sponsor, Rother Valley Optics, to be able to support us in these endeavors and these competitions. They have been proven very, very successful, and we've really been enjoying doing them. So we really are keen to do another one soon. There we go.
Yeah. And says, don't forget the Sky at Night is on tonight at 10.
Cool. We shall not forget. So there you go, folks. I hope you have enjoyed tonight's session. I think we certainly have here, the panelists. Again, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. These are the type of things that definitely help us grow the channel. Don't forget also to go on Facebook. We have our Facebook account, Space Oddities, where we chat and share various space news. Is there anything else, Channel, that we forgot to talk about, or anything?
Yes, just one thing. Harold says about the calendar. Can we produce a high quality PDF to the US and overseas? So I'm sure we can arrange that, Harold.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely sure we can do that. No problem at all.
Or maybe we can ask Lou to go and deliver in person the calendars to whoever.
in his Santa Claus
Christmas, I'll be like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
I'll drop it down your chimney.
Fantastic. Well, there will be. We will keep you posted about the calendar, and we'll also obviously tell you about November's competition next week. So thank you very much, all of you, for watching tonight. We do appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you again for watching us on YouTube and on Facebook. And we all wish you a great evening and a great week. And we will see you next week, same time, 8 p.m. on Monday.
And we will also see you on Wednesday for the attempted launch of the SLS, historic launch from NASA. And we'll be here about 6 o'clock UK time on Wednesday morning.
1 o'clock Eastern time.
1 o'clock Eastern time. Thank you, Lou. Yes, not forgetting our American viewers. So 1 o'clock Eastern time, US, 6 o'clock UK in the morning. And as I said, we're going to play it by ear and see what happens. We don't know how long we're going to be staying. If they, if they have problems and dig deep into the launch window. Fingers crossed, Bernard. Absolutely.
It's about time this thing gets launched.
Yes, absolutely. So we're all keeping our fingers crossed that this time it will be a launch. And And please join us on Wednesday morning at 6 o'clock UK time, and we look forward to seeing you.
Fantastic. Well, it's goodbye from my panelists then. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Great show again. It's goodbye from me. So goodbye, everyone, and
see you
enjoy
soon.
your week.
Yep.
See you soon. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.